Okay, good morning from beautiful downtown Chagrin Falls. My name's John Hall, and welcome everybody to. We're going to start with appliances today. So let me get to where we're going to be. Okay, in this webinar, we are going to discuss. Before I get started, and by the way, feel free to ask questions, and then during the webinar, if I have the opportunity, I will answer. If not, you can always email me at john@thehallddesigngroup.com. And what this is going to be today is the first of two webinars. The first one will be about appliances. We're going to talk all about appliances this morning. And then at 9:30, we're going to go and we're going to shift gears a little bit, and we're going to talk about the kitchen layout and what is the best way to lay out your space, and some things to rules and guidelines and things like that. And then we'll end that webinar with an actual design that I completed, and to show you what to expect. Okay, so let's get started. In this webinar, we're going to discuss different brands and pricing structures. We're going to understand refrigeration, dishwashers, cooking, microwaves, and then miscellaneous appliances, and answer questions. Now, one of the things that I don't know how far along you folks are out there in doing your kitchens, but what I'm instructing my clients to do is to get extra serious about these appliances right now, because if you're looking to do a kitchen this year, some of these appliances are really getting back ordered. In fact, one of the places that I work with is Bloom Brothers, and when I was talking to Jim last week, I recommend Jim out at Bloom, and when I was talking to Jim, he went and said to me that, like, some of them, like KitchenAid, they're even telling them, don't give me a model numbers, and said don't even order these model numbers for the foreseeable future, because they're not going to be available, and we're focusing on only our best sellers. So keep that in mind as you go through. So if you're doing the kitchen this year, you might want to get very serious on this. Okay, now what do I have in front of me here? Just some major brands. And what I like to do, and you folks that have heard me talk, I see a lot of repeat people up here today, and thank you uh, for coming back, is that I like to relate product and experiences to automobiles. So like when I go into somebody's house, the first thing I'm going to say, even before I talk about kitchens, is, okay, I'm going to take you to buy a car today. Where do we want to shop? Do we want to go and look at Mercedes? Do we want to look at Camrys? What do we want to look at? Okay. I was to a young couple yesterday, having a lot of fun with them in Willoughby Hills. And, they asked me a terrific question, because they up their appliances quality wise and dollar wise. And they said, John, are we doing the right thing? Is there going to be a difference? Is it going to be worth the money? And I said, you know what? You have just gone from appliances costing you X amount to this amount, but you've also gone from appliances that are going to last you 8 to 10 years, they're going to last you 20 to 25. So that has to be considered. So these are the major brands when you go looking, and this is just in general. And I put a car name right behind each one so that you can get a feel. Everybody usually owns a car, okay? And so you have a good feel of what cars cost. So Bosch, okay, I have been guilty of having Bosch stamped on my forehead. I'm a Bosch guy. I think the value, the look for the dollar, it's absolutely fabulous. I would give that a Toyota Camry. Fisher Paykel, okay, is a New Zealand company. Great cooktops, great dishwasher if you want dishwasher drawers. Great company. So that would be Fisher Paykel right there. KitchenAid, we all know KitchenAid. We all grew up with KitchenAid. Great product. I put that as a Chevy. Now, some of these lines, well, I'll get into it in a moment, but some of these lines have multiple series within them. Like when we get to GE, I'll show you. Jenn-Air, Ford. Uline, if anybody's looking for, let's say, beverage center or ice makers or things like that. Okay. GE Profile Series, that would be a Camry. Sub-Zero, If you're looking for built-in refrigeration, it's the best on the market. That would be a Mercedes. Thermador, Cadillac, throwing an American line in there. GE Monogram is the next series up from the Profile, give you more of a better built product, more of a industrial type of look to it. That would be a Lexus. Scotsman, one of the best ice makers on the market. So that's absolutely terrific if you're looking for having a separate ice maker in there. Miele, I love Miele, BMW. Wolf, that is owned also by Sub-Zero, that's high-end cooking. Mercedes. Sharp, Honda Accord, great for under-counter microwave drawer, best on the market. And then Zephyr and Best by Braun are the two type of hoods, like metal hoods to put above cooking and that. So that gives you a feel. Now, let me tell you, I'm going to give you some names. I normally don't give names and that out, but let me give you some names on who I work with appliances in the city. I'm not saying the other people are bad. I'm not saying the other people are good. Okay, all I'm saying is if I'm going to buy appliances, this is where I'm going to go. And the other thing that's really, really interesting, and maybe if anybody wants to give me feedback and write something out, this is what I found. You have two choices out there, okay? You have a choice to go to fancy smancy showrooms, and there's some nice ones around Cleveland. And then you also have the opportunity to run out to Bloom Brothers, or if anybody out here is on the west side or the south side, Interstate Kitchens, and talk to John Fauser. They don't have the greatest looking showrooms, but you know what? They're in the trenches for you. If you ever have issues, if you ever have it, they'll answer the phone right away. They'll take care of it. They'll drive it out to your house if you need to. Sometimes when you get more involved in these fancier showrooms, you're in that corporate ladder, and it could take you 3 days for somebody to call you back. And then if you have a dented refrigerator door on your stainless panel, they may say, oh, we've got to do this, we got to do that, so that's something for you to decide on. Where's your comfort level? So do you want to go the experience of having service, or do you want to go with the experience of having great showroom where you can see and touch every single thing, and then also do that? One thing I do also, okay, and I don't know, I don't know what's going on in this world anymore. I mean, is this pandemic letting up or not? But I have clients, and one of the things I tell my clients before the pandemic, and a lot of people did it and loved it. You can fly to Chicago for what, 100, 150 bucks. You could go there, fly there in the morning, go to the merchandise mart, and the whole first floor is filled with corporate showrooms. What does that mean? It means that you would be like a kid in a candy store. They have a whole Bosch huge showroom with all of their ovens, with all of their refrigerators. They have a Wolf, a Miele, KitchenAid, GE, all of them are there, I don't know if people are traveling right now, but that's a great opportunity. If I'm putting in a kitchen and I really want the experience of seeing all the appliances, that's something that I would strongly consider. You can get a lot of it here in Cleveland, but most of it's going to be through seeing it at a showroom in Chicago or somewhere. Okay, not saying you have to do it, but it's a real bonus. Okay, let's start with refrigeration. I'll put labels on these things too, as far as dollars, just to give you a feel on things. Okay, so what are we looking at here? We're looking at 2 refrigerators. Buying a refrigerator, you're going to start, and to get a halfway decent one, you're going to start at around $1,900 to $2,000, and you're going to go up to anywhere from $12,000 to $16,000. These, a freestanding refrigerator, we all grew up with them. They're Old Faithful. They're going to stick out into the room. They're going to stick out probably 32 to 36 inches with the door, and that happens to be what's referred to as a French door. French doors are very, very popular today. You will get anywhere from, probably today on one of those units, you will get about 10, maybe 10 years out of it. One thing that I would probably opt away from is going after the ice maker in the door. Every time I go in there, somebody says, oh, we're keeping the appliances and the refrigerator's 2 years old, but the ice maker's broken and it's just too expensive to replace. So just think about that. If you want that ice and water in the door, really do your homework on that brand and see if they've had issues with that ice and water on the door. And then all of a sudden, we can go and we can say, John, can you give me a sleeker look? And it doesn't stick as far out into the room without having to spend, $10,000. And that would be referred to as a counter depth refrigerator. And the counter depth was 24 inches deep, which is the depth of your base cabinets in your pantries, and only the door sticks forward. So if you notice that just the door is sticking forward, and they have different series, again, that's a French door version with a lot of people like that one drawer right underneath, because you can put your lunch meats or your vegetables or things like that without having to open the doors up. So it's really nice. And then on the bottom, you would have your freezer. That unit, French doors, I would say put in the area of $2,500 to $3,500. Okay, now all of a sudden, this is where the young couple yesterday said, you know what, should we go and bite the bullet and buy a built-in refrigerator? Because right now they have 2 children, they're going to plan on 2 more. And they're asking me, well, one thing about these, by the way, they only come up to 36 inches wide. Okay, so that's one of the reasons that people wanted to jump into more of a built-in, because now the built-ins, you can go from 30 to 36 to 42 to 48, and then we're going to talk about columns in a moment, but that would then get you a much bigger refrigerator. Not only that, the built-ins are meant to last you, seems like forever. And not only that too, is that they have, like Sub-Zero has a filtration system within it, like that they use in the space shuttle, and it scrubs the air. So I don't know if you realize, but like a lot of times the what's released from, let's say, a pepper might affect how long a mushroom's going to last and things like that. So it's constantly scrubbing the air and keeping the vegetables fresh. So that's a big advantage of some of these built-in refrigerators. Now, from there, you can see that still looks like a refrigerator. From there now, we can go to the right. And on the right-hand side, you're looking at what's called integration. Now, what integration would mean to you folks is that, you know what? You don't see the refrigerator. If that didn't have an ice maker on it, you wouldn't know that was refrigeration. You would swear that was all pantry storage. So that's what we have in the way of integration. These units here, like if you put that unit on the left, I bet you that's probably anywhere from $10,000 to $14,000 for that refrigerator. And then I promised to talk to you about columns. Now here's the thing. What about an a la carte system where we can go and we can have a, let's say an 18-inch freezer, because we don't need a 24-inch wide freezer, and then we could go with a bigger refrigerator column. Or you can make them equal, or you can do both 30-inch columns. But again, the column is integrated. It's going to look like a pantry, but it is actually your refrigerator and your freezer. Only the higher end units are going to do that. Sub-Zero is going to do that. Thermador does it. Miele does it. So some of your higher end will do that. If you're looking for a KitchenAid unit to do it, you're not going to get it. And then some of the other types of refrigeration we have, wine refrigeration. Are we looking to have a separate area for wine? That's a very popular unit that I put into kitchens. And it comes different widths. You don't have to dedicate a whole 24 inches to it. So you can have it at 15 inches wide or 24, depending on the bottles. And then some of your higher brands like Sub-Zero, they actually have zones for whites and reds, separate zones within the unit, which are really nice. So you have that opportunity. One thing I don't profess to be is an appliance expert. That's why I always go and rely on, I take people there. I know a lot about it, but it's changing every day. And that's why you rely on, if you guys wrote down Bloom Brothers, by the way, it's Jim. And then if you ever want to go to Interstate, than it is John Fowler, as I'd mentioned. There's one other place too I want to tell you about that's really a good experience if you're looking for the built-ins, is go out to Trevarrow, Trevarrow. They're the Sub-Zero Wolf distributorship, and they will spend all the time with you. It's a multi-million-dollar showroom, really, really nice. So that's out there, okay? And the person out there that I would ask for is Matt. Any of these places I would go and call them and set an appointment. Okay, there's under-counter refrigeration. We can either panel it, we can have a glass front, whatever. But let's say let's say that growing family yesterday didn't want to put 8,000 to 10,000 into a refrigerator. So they would stay with a freestanding at around 3,000, and then we could put an under-counter refrigerator in an island or a beverage center or somewhere else, for beverages or for vegetables, wine at the bottom, things like that. Or if you want to go more into the high-end series, we can do drawers, refrigerator drawers, or freezer drawers. So there's a lot of opportunity out there. Okay, if there's no questions on dishwasher, on the refrigerators, we're going to jump into dishwashing. Okay, dishwashers. Stack for quietness and stackability. That's why people shop for those. Dishwasher drawers. We'll talk about that. Remember, I mentioned Fisher-Paykel integrated dishwashers. Features. We'll talk about the features. Raising the dishwasher. I do a lot of that. And then we'll talk about a situation with the inset cabinetry. If anybody is going to do inset cabinetry, we have to be careful of a couple things. Okay, so integration. Remember we talked about it with the refrigerator? There it is again with a dishwasher. That unit, when it's shut, will look just like a cabinet. The biggest problem that you're going to be faced, Bosch and Miele are my two favorite brands of dishwashers. The biggest problem you're going to be faced with those dishwashers, you're not going to know they're on. They're so quiet today. And the panel hides all the controls, so you don't see that. Now, what Bosch does on some of their models is they'll have a red laser pointing on the floor. So if it's running, then you'll see that little dot, which is really nice. One thing also in the design is, do you put the dishwasher? I always ask my client, do you want the dishwasher on the left or the right? Are you left-handed, right-handed? And then we come over to the right side. And that now we can do drawers, perfect for empty nesters, perfect for people that, some people put more than one dishwasher in a kitchen, or let's say, am I going to be working on a beverage area or like a bar or down in a basement? We're doing a basement right now out in Concord, and putting a single drawer in. So all those are opportunities to have with this Fisher-Paykel. The other thing is, if you have a bad back, you can split those drawers. You can have them up at counter height, left and right of the sink. You'll pay more money to do that, but you will you'll get that flexibility. The other thing too, before you buy that, you want to make sure you look at it to see if you have a good comfort level with the stackability and things like that in that unit. Talked about raising the dishwasher. A lot of times, I'll never forget a great couple. I did their kitchen and their bathroom, and every time I see her when I'm talking at the shows and things like that, Krisiak is the last name. And what we did was we put it right in Westlake. We put it right in one of the corners because she has a bad back. Every time she sees me, she says, "Oh my God, thank you so much for doing that. I think of you every time I do my dishes." And so there's a great opportunity if you fall into that category of needing to address bending over. And let's talk about that inset situation for a moment. So if you've taken and listened to me for a while and have taken that webinar where we talk about framed and frameless cabinetry and inset and all that, when you do a cabinet, a box of a base cabinet is 24 inches deep. Then you put a door on it, you're at 24 3/4 inches deep. Okay. So what happens is that when you go inset, a regular refrigerator is 24 deep, and then you put a panel on it and you're 24 3/4. Well, do you see the problem? If I'm doing inset, okay, if I'm doing inset, then if a dishwasher's 24 and my cabinet's 24 and it's inset, so my door sticks within the frame, my panel of my dishwasher is going to stick past the cabinet. So you want to make sure if you're doing inset cabinetry that you want to go ahead and buy a dishwasher, like a European dishwasher that's not as deep, and understand that, so you don't get blindsided when they unpack it and it's sticking forward. Okay, something really to think about. Okay, Margaret asked a question. What's my favorite dishwasher brand and my pricing? Okay, favorite brand, there's two, depending on your budget, and it is Bosch and it is Miele. The pricing, you can get a great dishwasher starting at around, let me say $800 to $900. And then the Miele, I would think you can get a Miele, some of the basic levels between maybe 1,400 and 2,000, and then up a little bit. Like Miele has a dishwasher knock, where you just touch it, with your knuckles and the dishwasher opens, so that you don't have to get gook, from your hands and all that. So there's all these different features. Some dishwashers also, do you want to find China cycle? That bumps you up. Like Bosch, you can probably spend anywhere up, I would think their top end models are probably going to go, my guess is 1,400 to 1,800, to get all those features. One thing I will tell you, the hardest appliance that I found that to get right now is going to be that Bosch dishwasher. So dishwasher, everybody pretty much is going to have a dishwasher in their kitchen. What you may want to do is, if you're doing a kitchen this year and you explore, you want Bosch, is I'd pull the trigger. I mean, these places will hold it for you, but you could be 4 to 8 months out on that dishwasher. So I would jump on that if you're going to get the Bosch. Okay, let's get into microwaves. Microwaves, this on the left, a lot of us have had it or still have it. You can really avoid it today, getting it off the countertop. How do we do that? We can put it up into a wall cabinet. I'll show you a couple other options. One of my favorite things to do with a microwave is to build it in on the right. Doesn't it look sharp? I could build that into a base cabinet. I could build that into a wall cabinet. It's just a trim kit. So when you buy the microwave, you ask for the trim kit. My favorite microwave, okay, because people aren't using, I remember growing up, okay, one of my things about growing up, I'm one of 10 brothers and sisters, Euclid, Ohio, on the lake. And so what my mother did as we grew, she went and she had a home ec major. She went to JCPenney and if anybody remembers the Panasonic Genius microwave, it was going to revolutionize the kitchen, and it was a battleship. But she went and taught microwave cooking classes with that Panasonic Genius at JCPenney. So everybody thought that was going to revolutionize all the cooking. And then all of a sudden, it just leveled off, and people used it for basically warming things or coffee or popcorn, things like that. And now there's going to be a couple other things where you might not even put a microwave into the kitchen after I show you a couple things coming up. But if you do, I like the PEM 31 by GE. It's only wall cabinet depth. So if you go back and look at my portfolio online, you're going to see I have a lot of microwaves up in wall cabinets. Really, really nice to do that. You can still get a full plate in there. Really nice to use. Okay, so let's say we don't want to see the microwave. We can also put it underneath. By the way, a microwave, I'm going to guess at pricing $200 to $400, $200 to $500, and then that trim kit's probably $100 to $150. So let's say for $300 to $500, you get a microwave. If you don't want to see the microwave and you want to put it down below in a drawer, okay, that's where I told you about that Sharp microwave. You're talking probably around $1,400 to $1,600 to do that. Okay, but it hides it. Now, one of the things that's deceiving, that microwave, when you look online or you talk to them at the stores, they're going to offer it in a 24-inch version in width and a 30. And the reason they offer it in a 30-inch version is to line up with an oven. If you're going to, do an oven or, I put it below or do something to line it up. It is still only the same width as a 24 on the inside. You notice they just use large fillers behind there to line it up. Okay, so that's just something to think about. And then also, if anybody still wants to go over the range, not common at all. I'm doing it right now in a job in Shaker. Most people today want to do a metal hood or something to have it more as a showpiece, as opposed to having just the microwave. We all grew up with those too. I can't really say a lot of bad things about it, except kids reaching over burners to get into the microwave, or somebody cooking has to move if you want to get into it. But a lot of you probably have that now. Okay, let's talk about cooking. I could spend a long time talking about cooking, but on the right is Old Faithful. We all grew up with that. That's a freestanding range. People are not putting freestanding ranges in anymore. What they're doing is, if they want that theory, they go and do what's on the left. Look how sleek that looks. So basically, it's the same thing. Okay, you get a nice oven, could be convection, could be whatever. Convection, again, is that hot air blowing the heat around. Is pretty common in ovens today. And so what that does is that it'll quicken your cooking time and, lower temperatures, things like that. And then you could also, in some of these ovens, whether it be freestanding or slide-in, that bottom drawer could be a warming drawer, or just storage. Some ovens even put that drawer up on top, and you actually get two ovens out of it. Like a little oven you could put your casseroles in and things like that. But so this is what's referred to as a slide-in, and it actually clips over your countertop a little bit, so you don't get your crumbs and all that going down the sides of the countertop. Okay, pro style cooking. Now, pro style cooking is a situation where people buy it as much for the look as they do for the function. And what you're getting here, this opens up a whole can of worms. Not as popular today. People still doing some of them. I just did one in about 4 months ago. I just finished one. But what happens is, you'll note it right away. You have a pro style when you see those controls on the front. This does not necessarily get you better cooking. It gets you more intense heat. There's a lot of residential cooktops out there that do the same, very close to the same thing today. But notice this one has a built-in griddle. You can get some with built-in grills, things like that. Here's the situation you face, okay? When I do a job, I pull permits. That's up to you guys, whether you're going to get permits pulled and things like that. But here's the situation you're going to face. The communities now, and it started over on the west side, and now it's pretty widespread. When you get to your hood, like you see that hood over that range on the left, all of that heat, you need to have a pro style vent. Air moves, it's called CFMs, cubic feet per minute. If we put in a regular electric cooktop, or if we put in a regular freestanding range, or if we put in a slide-in range, if we just put the average cooking in there, the CFMs can be anywhere from 350 to 450 CFMs. The city won't care. Everything's copacetic. As soon as that you put that cooktop hood and buy one that's over 400 CFMs, a lot of these communities are going to say, wait a minute, you now have to put what's referred to as a makeup air system in. So that means you have to go down by your furnace, you have a plumber come. It's not the end of the world, it's just more expense. Because what's happening is, a lot of these newer homes today, they are so airtight, if you're blowing all the air out, you're going to have issues with your furnace and things like that, with the carbon monoxide and all that kind of stuff. So it's done for good cause on all these new homes, but that's something you have to be aware of, is going to be and look into a makeup air system. So if you want this pro style cooking, some of the better brands that I love with this, Wolf, you can see that's a Wolf cooktop right there and a Wolf oven. Thermador, Miele has a really nice freestanding range, and they come anywhere. They start at 30 inches wide. The two most common are 36 and 48. This one that you see on the right happens to be a 60-inch range there. Okay, so one of the questions that you have to answer is, do you want one oven or two? This is going to be a tough question, because, and you really can't answer that until we go through all this cooking, because we have some options. But do you one oven and something else? Let's say one oven in a microwave, one oven in a speed oven or a steam oven, which we're going to talk about, or do you want double ovens? How much do you cook? So that's going to come up, and I'm going to show you all the options with cooking and help you make that determination. Here's something really sweet, okay? Not many manufacturers are doing it. In fact, the only one I know of right now is the Bosch. Is it worth paying an extra $400 to $500 to have a side swing door? A lot of people say yes. They're not reaching over anymore to get to their food. So now you have a side swing and you get right in. I'm working out in Pittsburgh with a lady that I did her kitchen 20 some years ago. She's paraplegic and the oven broke. And we're working on a new oven, and Bosch now is going to be the oven that she's going to use. But that side swing oven for her is really, really nice. There's a double oven. So if you want two ovens, and here's something. This is really I call this the sunroof of the kitchen. So what I mean by that is the sunroof is a luxury in your car. I couldn't live without it today. When I didn't have it, I didn't know how good it was, but I can't live without a sunroof. But now what the warming drawer is, once you have one, you're going to say, I can't live without it ever again. And the reason being is, let's say you have a smaller kitchen, and you don't put a warming drawer in just because you have a smaller kitchen, but let's say it's a smaller kitchen. Now you could have one oven, and you could have that second oven that usually was used to keep things warm or things like that in a little drawer that generates heat. And you get, the nice thing about that too, is when that's shut, it holds the moisture of the food in. It doesn't dry it out. That's what a warming drawer does. So do you do a ton of entertaining? If you do, you might want to look into this. Do you want to have that second oven only to keep things warm? Well, then you may want to save the space and do the warming drawer. Located, it can be integrated. It can look like a drawer in your kitchen. A lot of people will put it like under that double oven. You see that drawer there? They would put it in that location. Speed oven. Okay, this is probably the most important slide of this presentation. This is a very difficult one and a very fun one. What do we have? Let's say I'm going to come home from a talk, and it's 8 o'clock. I'm at, well, no more IX Center. I'm down at the convention center, and I'm talking, and I come home and don't want to go out to eat. And I wanted, let's say, how about a nice grilled pork chop with sweet potatoes? By the time I let Denali and Pebbles out to do their business and come back into my kitchen, about 8 minutes later, those sweet potatoes are done, oven roasted, restaurant quality. It's really nice. Works on 3 powers. It works on microwave. It works on convection. That's the fan in the back. And it works on halogen, that searing lamp from up on top. So those 3 things, and you have an incredible, incredible unit. And we don't break the bank. We're talking probably about $1,500 or so with Bosch. So that's a speed oven. It's all pre-calculated recipes in there. So all you have to do, let's say you were going to do chicken breast. You go there and you click the poultry button. Then it's going to ask you what kind. Let's do, how about skinless breast? And that's going to ask you the size. We'll say medium. And then it'll ask you how many. We'll say 5. That's it. Then you put it, it's done. You will do 80 to 90% of your cooking in that unit as opposed to your regular oven. Now, it's not, it doesn't have the same capacity inside. So you're not going to do a big turkey in it. You're not going to do, some of those things. So that is something. So now here's the question. 1 oven or 2? Do you put 1 oven in with the speed oven? That's what a majority of people do. Or do you put a double oven in and do a speed oven? That's what that young couple's doing yesterday that I talked to. So you have that. Now we come over on the right. Now I throw a real monkey wrench at you. Now we have a unit that is the best way to cook, and that's with steam. Breads, pastas, fish. The best fish you're ever going to have is going to come out of a steam oven. What else? Almost anything. Okay, you're not going to do popcorn in there. You're not going to do that. Sous vide cooking. Does anybody do sous vide cooking? You know, with the pouch, and the really popular way of cooking today, where it keeps the moisture within the bag. You know, do sous vide cooking in there. So on and on and on. I would strongly suggest, if you guys are doing your kitchen, which I assume you are if you're here at 8:30 on a Saturday, that you really YouTube these two things and really go there and get some interesting feedback. I've mentioned in the past, and I say to my clients, Houzz is a terrific site, really, really good. You can go on Houzz. There's something called gardenweb.com, GARDEN.com, GardenWeb, GARDEN web.com. What gardenweb.com is it's going to take you to Houzz, but it's their forum section where you can chat and talk to people around the country. You can go in and say, who has a steam oven? Was it worth the money? I'll bet you get 50 to 100 responses, and they'll tell you the brands they like. They'll tell you what it can do, blah, 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 blah. And you can do it for anything. You can do it for cabinetry, flooring, lighting, whatever, and get on that forum and talk to people. So that's a steam oven. Oh, by the way, when you look at it, do you see that reservoir on the right? Some of the models, usually the reservoir now is going to be in that top black. It's going to pop out. But usually these things, you have two options with most brands, would be to have it as a reservoir or to have it as a plumbed unit. I know Miele does that. I don't think Bosch does that. Some other things you can do with cooking, we can combine the oven and the cooktop. Europeans are very popular. That gives you a sleeker look. The only negative to that is that it tends to drop that oven a little lower than normal. We can do modular cooktops. So let's say you want to do some gas. Let's say you want to do a fryer, a deep fryer. Let's say you want 2 induction burners. You can go and put these modular unit, a wok thing. You can go and put all these things together and create the cooktop a la carte. You'll spend some dollars, but it can be done. Induction cooking pretty much has replaced gas. Here's a cooking unit where you can go and it generates no heat, zero. You could put a pot on there, boil some water, and then put your hand on it. What it causes the heat is there's a magnetic field underneath. And then underneath that magnetic field, or on top of it, you have the glass, and then you put a pan that a magnet will stick to. What happens is that magnetic field underneath is causing friction in the pot to make it go 1,000,000 miles an hour, those molecules, which causes friction, which causes heat. So that's induction cooking. Very popular. So if you don't want to go the gas direction, you know, you can go the induction. Do you notice that both of these cooktops have 5 burners? Very popular today. Instead of that 30-inch 4-burner, is now to go to a 5-burner and go 36. My favorite cooktop on the market, this is a cooktop that young couple decided to go with after I talked to them yesterday, because they wanted that pro style initially, and then to save the money and get a better cooktop. This is worth the money. It's incredible. People go crazy over this unit. This is made by Wolf. It's their contemporary series. The controls are on the front, so you don't lose any space on top. You notice on the left, having those controls there, it gets a reduction in space. Now the controls are on the front. Other thing that's very unique about this, look how it's flat with the countertop. Not sticking up. Very sleek look. Look at the continuous grates where you can be sliding your pans across everything. So it has a simmer burner. It has a high BTU burner. BTU is how much heat these things churn out. So great cooktop. Now Thermador has a great cooktop. They have a patented Star burner. Bosch has a great cooktop. Fisher Paykel has a nice cooktop. So there's a lot of good cooktops out there. This happens to be my favorite though. Okay, so miscellaneous appliances. We talked about updrafting with the hood. If you're going to put your cooking on an island and you want to face out, you could have a downdraft. Doing a job right here in Chagrin Falls right now where we're downdrafting. So that actually raises up and lowers when you're cooking. Trash compactors. With recycling units, not as popular today, but we could go and put a compactor in. Ice machines, we talked about ice machines a little bit. Excuse me, one thing about ice machines, they're noisier. And a proper good ice machine is constantly melting the ice. It has a heater in there, and it's constantly melting the ice and remaking it to keep that ice fresh. Not as popular in kitchens, but again, in bars and things like that. Okay, so that takes us to the end of round one. Like I mentioned before, and I know a number of you have jumped on this, I have that design guide that I'm offering. If anybody wants one, get in touch with me. And you guys can reach me if anybody needs help with their design or their project. Again, don't wait too long. If you want to do a project within 2 years, you better start talking to people. So there's all my information, and we'll look forward. One thing that has been scheduled, it's not up yet, but I'm doing a live kitchen class, not virtual, the first potentially live kitchen class at the end of May. If anybody's interested, they can get in touch with me for information. It'll be on the east side here, right by Orange High School. So I've been doing those for 25, 30 years. People love them. So if anybody's interested in knowing about that, they can contact me. Okay, so I am going to take a break, drink some of my green tea, and be back in about 10 to 15 minutes for round two, talking about the kitchen layout. Thanks. Bye-bye.